Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cloud Wars Live. We're digging into the digital revolution and its incredible impact on the businesses around us, everything that's going on in our lives. And certainly when you think about that, healthcare is something that is close to everybody's mind, and the changes in it have been extraordinary lately. So we're very excited to have a chance today to speak with Anthony Colletta, who's Chief Financial Officer at WestMed, which is a healthcare company in suburban New York and also northern in Westchester County in southern Connecticut. Anthony, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to Cloud Wars Live.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Yeah, sure. So Anthony, what so many changes in the world over the last 20 months, but nothing probably has changed as much as what's going on in the healthcare business for you. So Anthony, could we open up, give us a little idea of how WestMed's business is changing and where is it headed?
Sure. Well, to start off, WestMed is a multi-specialty physician practice located, like you said, in Westchester County, New York, and Fairfield County, Connecticut. We have roughly 400 providers under management. And to be honest with you, the landscape has changed a lot. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. And when I started out here, there was very minimal competition in the area. And the focus was a lot different. So over time, that's really evolved a lot to where we are today. Competition couldn't be greater, and the shift within the industry from changing payment models is really shifting how we look to manage the business and the data that we interact with on a regular basis. So like I said, that competition is really causing a lot of increased focus on data. So that's really important for us to manage not only financial data, but all data throughout the entire organization, whether it be operational data, clinical data. But it really is bringing a greater focus on combining all that data into a strategy to use to push the business forward and manage these various things. So there is a greater focus, like I said, on population health as these payment models change. So we are looking to, I mean, the industry as a whole is kind of looking to shift from a fee-for-service model to a value-based model, shifting more percentage of those payments into that type of structure, just so that the incentives for these payments are really driving value for our patients. So that's what it should be about. So there's a greater focus on that as an industry as we look to tackle that and provide great, the best care that we can for the patients that we manage.
Yeah, Anthony, that's fascinating to hear you talk about that boom in competition and then the changes, taking place in the industry about payments and, value-based rather than fee-for-service. So you had touched on this briefly. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about these changes, right, in the nature of the data that CFOs work with. Perhaps it was not that long ago that CFOs were primarily focused with financial data. And of course you still are, but there's all those other parts of the business that have data coming in that you need to now be fully aware of, right, to help drive the best overall strategy and execution for the company. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, I being the CFO, for me, it starts with the financial data, obviously. So there's a big focus on getting that all aligned with managing all of our key metrics that we need to look at to manage the financial performance of the business. But in addition to that, I also oversee an area of HR, and working very closely with that function over time, you really realize how interconnected the two are and really understanding the performance of the business. You really need to interact with that data. You need to understand your employee population. And this really comes into play when you're looking at things like FTE ratios and staffing for a given site or a given specialty that you have. So you want to really get the right mix, the right people in place, and it's really intertwined pretty deeply. So that has been a great focus for us, and the ability to have that data really talk to each other in the best way possible is extremely important for us. So that was something that over time, we've looked to manage. We went from a very manual process of, combining this data, and we've realized that was really a pain point for us as we try to act quickly and make quick decisions. We really needed this data to really interact together well, and it kind of brings you speed to reporting and speed to insights. So that's something that has really been a big focus for us. And then obviously in healthcare, you have all of your clinical data and your revenue cycle data. Now for us, that's housed in a different system than our regular ERP system, which is Workday. But there still is a need and a desire to have that information combined and meshed together so that you can get insights into that. And this really helps you to manage the health of your population. So if the health of your population is at the forefront, that will seamlessly drive profitability. And now you have a win-win situation where you're looking at the profitability of your organization as well as the health of your population. If both are doing well, that's the ideal scenario. So with the pressure that we're seeing, or the shift that we're seeing from payers to put more of the onus on the providers, that is critical insights to have. Where you can intervene with patients, where does it make sense to look at higher risk populations and make certain decisions that could keep potentially people from having unnecessary visits, keep people out of the hospital. These are all incentives that we would get from these value-based arrangements, where if we're managing the care of our population to a certain level and below a certain benchmark, then we're incentivized financially. So that really is the win-win situation. And you really need data to do that. So having the ability to interact with not only, like I said, the financial data, the human resources data, as well as the patient, the operational data, are all necessary to create a combined operational strategy to execute everything.
Yeah, Anthony, it's fascinating hearing you talk about that, because it enlightens not only how much the CFO's role has changed, but across the board, any C-level executive, it seems, has to look at the world differently today. But I think in your case in particular, right, you had mentioned you yourself have been at WestMed for 10 years. You took the CFO position 2 years ago. So that would have been just before the onset of the pandemic. And boy, things have really changed since then. How have you and WestMed coped with all that?
Yeah, well, I was really thrown into it very quickly from the start. So I was in the CFO role for just a few months before the COVID-19 pandemic started impacting our business, and you kind of had to work quickly, had to understand and learn the job and the role very quickly. Didn't have too much time to wait on the sidelines and understand. You really had to jump into it. So there was, with all of that happening, there was a need to be agile. And we really realized how having accessibility to real-time data immediately was critical, because you're making business decisions, by the hour when it was at the height. And you're in a situation where you're looking at your visit volume, and it's decreased significantly to the point where you realize you have to start making different business decisions to continue to operate until you can stabilize. So having that real-time access of data insights was really something that we focused on doing and improving over the months, to make sure that, okay, if there's a shift in this, if it goes, if it gets really bad again, we know what levers we need to pull and what we need to look at to understand that very quickly. So that was something that we realized we need to put a real intense focus on. From an operational and a clinical perspective, there was a huge, very quick shift to telehealth. We had been, we did have telehealth offerings, before the pandemic really started impacting how we did business, but that really expanded, and we really had to scale it very quickly throughout the organization. And a lot of providers who were not fully trained on it because they didn't have a need beforehand really needed to get up to speed very quickly. So that was something that was very critical to getting put in place extremely quickly. And then in addition to that, there's just been overall has been a more fragmented workplace from a corporate perspective. Being able to manage the business from a back office perspective, you get to realize people in different situations. People working from home, working remotely. It changed how you we're able to operate, and so changing the workplace overall was something that we went through, just like most organizations did as well.
So, Anthony, you've talked a lot there about items of speed, agility, the rise in competition, the need. I think you talked about speed to insights, real-time insights, shifting business models. And it sounds like your reliance on data and the cloud systems that underpin that have been a big part of the evolution of your company and its ability to continue to succeed, in spite of all the changes that you've just outlined.
Right. So we really did have to put a big focus on technology and data.
Anthony, it just sounds like there's been so much change, so much of a need now, as you've talked about it, that this intense need for an awareness of data, to be able to see what's going on across the organization. You've talked about speed to insights, the rising level of competition, the need for real-time data to provide those real-time insights. So it sounds like the whole pace of operations and that focus on data has been enormous. So could you tell us a little bit about the role of cloud technology that has played in the ability for WestMed to continue to be successful in spite of all these disruptions in the business?
Yeah, I think that having a cloud-based platform to operate off of has been a huge thing for us. It's something that we've recently shifted to. The benefit you get from that is enhanced accessibility of data. So you have users who beforehand were not able to access the data as freely as they are now. You can access it on a mobile phone. You can access it out of network, and it's all there. So that's been a very big thing for us. And you kind of as you go through this transformation, and as each license is coming due, you're making a decision to enhance your product offerings that you have from a software perspective. You're realizing that this is the way forward. So we're doing this basically across the board. Our ERP system, like I mentioned, which was Workday, was really the first big investment into a cloud-based offering that we have. So it was definitely new to us. There was a lot of things we needed to understand about it, but once you're now operating on it, you wonder why we hadn't done this sooner. It just creates so much more benefits overall to the end user. In addition to that, the maintenance aspect is also extremely enhanced. So you don't have to rely as heavily on having in-house maintenance personnel, maintaining servers, patching, doing updates. That's all done within the cloud-based environment by the vendor. So they're maintaining all your data. They're maintaining the rollouts of the new releases, and it really allows you to use those resources that you once had and shift them into a more strategic role. And that's what we've done. That's what we were able to do. So I know we had an ERP team that's kind of what they had done previously, where they maintained the server, they maintained the data, they make sure when something went wrong, they fixed it. And now we've been able to leverage that team in a different way with different skill sets. So now they're able to really drive value through creating certain business processes, creating additional reporting, and actually focusing a lot more on enhancements to the system that our new product offerings that we want to put in place. So those have all been the benefits that we've had from our cloud-based system.
Yeah, Anthony, we hear that a lot about one of the advantages of the cloud. I think when it first came out, people said, well, it'll cost less than traditional IT systems. And over the long run, I'm not sure that actually plays out. But what you pointed out there was so vital was the ability to deploy your people in more strategic and meaningful, high impact ways. So really great point there. Now, you've mentioned Workday a couple of times, Anthony, and I know Workday is a strategic IT partner for WestMed. Tell us a little bit about what Workday is, how Workday is helping your team achieve its goals.
Sure. Yeah. So my Workday journey started about between 4 and 5 years ago. Like I mentioned before, we were on a previous system that we felt was outdated and not able to keep up with where we were looking to grow. So we knew we had to invest in a new ERP system and really put a bigger focus on the technology that we had there. So we did an RFP process, which I led, and we vetted all of the major vendors and really realized that the Workday offering was the top one to fit our organizational needs. And it's something that I've very embedded with from the start, not only having that decision to and going through the different vendors and running that process, but also the implementation. At the time, I was a controller within this organization, but I also took on the role of project manager to lead this project for the organization. And what people ask me, why are you taking this on? Why you can certainly outsource this to someone else. And I said, because I need this to be done the way that I know it needs to happen, because there are so many pain points that we've had to this point where I know what we need to do to fix it. And in order for me to do my job properly into the future, I need to make sure that these things work properly. And I want to have that area, that oversight to ensure that happened. And I think we took a very methodical approach to ensuring that the data and the system was set up in that way, because you kind of have to start with the end goal in mind and work towards that. And it's a tough position to be in, because there's a lot of pressures to quickly get the product implemented and start using it. But if you don't set it up the right way to meet your needs, not only now but also long term, it's not going to do what you need it to do, and you're not going to get the full value from it, and you'll probably end up regretting it. So we took that time. It was a stressful process, but we 3 years later, after going live, really feel like we did it the right way, and it's really set us up well for success. So a few of the things that we've that one of the main points that I think that really were attractive to me when assessing the product was how integrated the systems were. So going from something that was very fragmented, where you have different systems with different data sets in them, and then you try to combine the data, it creates it's a very slow reporting process. So if you have all the data interconnected in the same system, you're really able to get that speed to reporting. And I think the thing for me as well is I love to have as many dashboards as possible with all the insights for that I need that are critical for the business. And me personally, I like to interact with that data. So I don't want a dashboard presented to me that's great, but I want to be able to interact with it and get real-time insights and drill into the data and understand it better. I'm a little impatient in that regard, where I want to dig into it a little more and not have to say, hey, tell someone to go and look into this a little bit more and then get back to me. I want to know right on the spot. And I think that really allowed me to do that, to get kind of real-time different cuts and views of the information by being able to interact with the dashboards. And I think is not only for me, but for the end users, as valuable as well. So we have a big focus on empowering our managers here. Yeah. So it's tough for us in our model to manage each business unit appropriately. We have so many different specialties at so many different locations, that if you put data in the hands of those managers, they're closer to the situation. They're the boots on the ground people. So those are the people who you want to say, this is the data that we have for you. Help us understand your business and how this makes sense. And giving them those dashboards, we have custom dashboards for them to interact with that are tailored for them and what we believe they need to see. And we get feedback from them as to what makes sense and how to structure it. And it really leads to that nice data insights. So they really feel, and it's a win-win for both sides, because they feel more connected to the business. They understand it better. They understand their units better. And then also we have managers who are invested in driving performance of their unit. So those are all benefits that have been universal. We've also been able to put a lot of process control with automation and just having general controls around processes. So you have approval workflows that you want followed. You need that for certain audit trails. That's all captured through the business processes that you create in the system. It's not going to get from A to B unless it does what unless it goes through the approval process that you tell it to. You're not going to, pay an invoice without going through the approval process. So it's very structured, and you can, as a management team, have the ability to really control and have that kind of sense of comfort that things are being done the right way, the way that you've laid them out, and you have that proper control, so that nothing kind of gets handled without the proper oversight. We've taken a lot of manual processes and really automated them well. So I mean that there is a time investment in that, but once you have it up and running, it's completely worth the investment in time. And then what happens from there is that's just the starting point to then build more off of, right? So you can build more automated processes off of that, and you continue the development of knowledge throughout your organization, and that just leads to a very, very mature system and an operation that you have working for you. And we feel that we've really attained a lot with the system and the team that we have here. But by focusing on those things, I think the thing for me is that I was able to have so much oversight over this that we were able to act very quickly, and being the person who is kind of the ultimate end user in all of this, who's and I'm able to direct a lot of the where the team focuses. It was something that we were able to really generate a lot of value at a very quick rate of speed. So those are all things that really helped us to enhance our product offering and where we are today. And we really feel like that's delivered a lot of value. It's delivered about a lot of value to our leadership team. They have insights that they didn't have before. And it's also, like I said, created a very robust user experience. So not only from the empowerment perspective, but now we're also use it as a source to direct people when they have questions about something. So we have resource centers. It was something that was great to use as part of, you mentioned the COVID-19 pandemic and how we were impacted by that. We're able to we leverage this system so much to allow us to have this, not only the speed in reporting and the agility, but to get information in the hands of our employees, when it was tough to reach them, and we needed to get something to them very quickly. So when they needed to know who to call if they have an issue, it was all there in a resource center that they were easily able to access through Workday. So it's really helped us in a ton of ways, and you really have to be creative in how you use it. I think that that's I have the benefit of having a very invested team here, and they were driven to really stretch how we could use the system and apply it in different ways that we didn't really think of before. So with all of those insights, I really think that we're able to have the best offering that we can have today, and we're just looking to continue to build on it.
Yeah, Anthony, that's great. And I wonder, as we wrap up, I just want to reflect back on a comment that you had made in an earlier conversation, that it's important to, as you said, focus on not only what's being done today, but where you hope to be. I think that really came through very clearly in your description there. It gives you the structure and the capability and the rigor and the precision to do what you have to do, but it also gives you the flexibility to continue to adapt and change as a company like WestMed needs to.
Oh yeah, I think that's actually where a lot of organizations fall flat, and I know this because we went to trainings and we interacted with the people and we shared our stories, and the feedback that I got was like, oh, I like the way that you're doing it, the way you're approaching it, and it's just a matter of having the ability to do that, being able to manage the other pressures that are kind of work against that. But if you're able to do that, that's kind of where all organizations really want to be, right?
Yeah. Well, Anthony, thank you so much. There's been a fascinating discussion here about, what you've been doing there at WestMed, how it's moving along, and the role that Workday's played. So thanks very much for spending this time with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, thanks to all of you for being with us here at Cloud Wars Live. We hope you've enjoyed this discussion about WestMed's advancement, the role that Workday's plays there, and where it's headed in the future through the words of CFO Anthony Colletta. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.